There's a lot to see and do in London, but what do you do if you want to see something more unusual? Today I'm gonna show you weird and alternative tourist attractions in London. In Fitzrovia, 5 minutes from Oxford Street, you can find a strange café. This is Attendant Coffee Roasters, and it's located inside an old Victorian toilet. The toilet here was built around 1890, and it served men in need for many decades, up until 1960. It stayed closed for 50 years after that, until the new owners spent 2 years restoring the place, and presumably scrubbing the urinals very closely. These original porcelain urinals can no longer be used, and that's almost a pity. Imagine how useful it would have been to sit here and drink coffee, or well, in my case, Diet Coke, and use the urinals at the same time. Sorry, do you have a toilet here?
Unfortunately, we don't.
Chris Bracey was a strange man with a strange passion. He was called the Neon Man, or sometimes the Master of Glow. He created iconic neon signs that have appeared behind some of the greatest stars in Hollywood. Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut, Johnny Depp in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Jack Nicholson in Batman, and many more. Chris worked with neon signs and art pieces for 37 years until he died in 2014. He also created a neon wonderland in North London called God's Own Junkyard. There's just so much to see at this place. It's completely amazing. Next, I'm heading to the Tower Bridge. I can almost hear you complaining right now. That's a common tourist attraction. There's nothing weird about the Tower Bridge. Well, how about this glass floor walkway? It was installed in 2014 and it's 11.5 meters long. Despite being made of glass, it can apparently take the weight of 4 London black cabs, so you don't have to worry too much. Actually, I think it's giving a little bit. These walkways were meant for pedestrians to use when the bridge was open, but they weren't really all that popular, so they fell into disuse and eventually became an informal red light district of London. All of that stopped in 1910 when the walkways were closed though, but as you can see, they're open again, this time without any prostitutes. Apparently the people who worked on this bridge might have built the Titanic later as well. Should I be worried? If the glass walkways aren't strange enough, what about the engine room, where you can see the original Victorian steam engine that drew the bridge up until 1970? If you want an even stranger tourist attraction, you can go on a special tour to see the Bastille chamber underneath the bridge. It's apparently a giant chamber and pretty magnificent, but those tours aren't available right now. They're only available between November and February. The Golden Boy of Pie Corner is a weird little monument you can check out next to Cock Lane. It marks the spot where the Great Fire of London was stopped in 1666, but it doesn't really look very celebratory, does it? The Golden Boy looks both fat and arrogant, and that's because this monument is a reminder that the Fire of London was created by the sin of gluttony. It started in Pudding Lane and was stopped in Pie Corner. When you walk around in this Bayswater neighborhood, you can see rows and rows of houses. Nothing strange or out of the ordinary, right? Wrong! These two houses at 23 and 24 Leinster Gardens are completely fake. There are no post boxes and the windows are just grey. These buildings are thin facades and not real buildings at all. When the London Underground was built, a lot of property was torn down and then rebuilt later. But the steam-powered trains running the underground back then needed vents at various places, and one such place was right here. But they didn't want to show an ugly open vent, so they covered it with fake buildings. These houses have been used for various pranks and scams, for example selling tickets to a charity ball that was supposed to take place here. Just imagine the line of people waiting here, dressed up to the nines and knocking feebly on these fake doors, hoping to get in. More than 40 million people per year pass through the Picadilly Circus underground station. If you want to get a unique view of the station, there's a hidden London walk that will take you through shafts and passageways that have been closed since 1929. On the walk you can see the amazing original Edwardian design features of the underground station, right in the heart of London. The Postal Museum is a pretty weird museum. You can learn a lot about stamps and post sorting and the history of the British Postal Service. But that's not the reason why the Postal Museum is included in this list. You can also ride a mail train at the museum. The mail train is small and cramped and takes you through hidden tunnels far beneath the ground. It's quite interesting actually, and it's a strange experience to zoom along the hidden mail tunnels, even though in theory it shouldn't be all that different from riding the underground. Well, if the underground trains were made for tiny munchkins, that is. The Postal Museum is a nice place to visit, but if I'm being honest, the mail train is the real reason to come here. Trafalgar Square and Lord Nelson's Column is one of the touriest places to visit in London, but we're gonna have a closer look at the lions at the base of the column. Sir Edwin Landseer was the painter who sculpted these lions, and he wasn't very familiar with lion anatomy, and he also had never sculpted before in his entire life. He asked the London Zoo for a dead lion to use as a model, but he was actually so slow in sculpting that the lion started to decompose before he completed his work. The lion's paws in particular were so decomposed that they were unrecognizable, so Edwin Landseer had to base the sculpture's paws on cat's paws instead. So if the lion looks a little bit weird, it's because it was sculpted by a man with no experience, based on a decomposing dead lion, and finished off with cat's paws. There's a legend that if Big Ben ever strikes 13 times, these 4 lions will wake up. I guess they'd wake up and scream, "I'm an abomination! Kill me!" St. James's Park is not very strange or unusual to visit, but it's pretty damn nice anyway. This is Brompton Cemetery in the southwest of London, and I'm here to look at a time machine. The tomb of Hannah Courtois can be found here, and according to rumor, there is a time machine buried inside her mausoleum. Hannah was a working class girl who ended up receiving a large inheritance from her employer, John Courtois, because she claimed that he was the father of her 3 daughters. She was now wealthy and spent a lot of time and money investigating Egyptology together with her friend Joseph Bonomi. Bonomi was among the first to decipher certain hieroglyphs at the Valley of Kings, and rumors say that that's where he learned the secret of time travel. He and another friend convinced Hannah to finance the building of a time machine in the shape of a tomb, because cemeteries stay relatively unchanged over time, so it's a good place to hide a time machine. The mausoleum was finished under mysterious circumstances, and Bonobi's friend also disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Maybe he traveled in time. Who left these flowers by her tomb? Maybe it's someone from the future, or no, it's a local shop, never mind. So how come people haven't opened the tomb to see if there really is a time machine here? Well, the key has actually gone missing mysteriously, and there's a rumor that this tomb is unmarked on the cemetery plans. So who knows, maybe there really is a 19th century time machine hidden here. Do you have any other suggestions for strange or unusual things to see and do in London? Let me know in the comments. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day.